After selling her deceased son's bed at a yard sale, a mother was taken aback when the buyer unexpectedly returned days later. What came next was even more surprising. He asked her to look in the trunk, leading her to tears. Valerie Watts, a young mother from Cokato, Minnesota, tragically experienced the heart-wrenching loss of her child. As her due date approached, all was set for the arrival of her son. However, a few days before her due date, Valerie sensed that something was amiss. Her worst fears were confirmed when she realized her son had stopped moving in her womb. Unbeknownst to her, his umbilical cord had become pinched, depriving him of oxygen and nutrients. Despite her efforts, her baby, Noah, tragically passed away in utero, and Valerie had to endure the devastating experience of delivering him stillborn. It was a nightmare scenario that no mother should ever have to face. After her son's tragic passing, Valerie Watts struggled with what to do with Noah's belongings. An entire nursery was ready for a baby who never made it home. For over a year, his room remained untouched. Then, the mourning mother finally had a yard sale, where she eventually agreed to sell the crib she had so anxiously hoped to use when she welcomed her son home, a reality that never came to be. Originally, the crib wasn't for sale, but when a man named Gerald Campula spotted it, he immediately asked Valerie how much she wanted for it. He had big plans for it, without knowing the story behind it. With hesitation, Valerie finally agreed on a price and let go of the last physical reminder of her son. Soon Gerald was on his way, with her deceased son's crib in hand, not knowing what had happened to the boy that the bed was meant for. However, before Gerald left, Valerie had told Noah's story to Gerald's wife. While chatting with Valerie Watts, Gerald's wife had asked how old her son was after seeing the crib and some tiny clothes at the yard sale. She was crushed by the truth. As the couple was on their way home with the crib, Gerald's wife shared with him what Valerie had told her. He had simply assumed she was selling items her children had outgrown, but after hearing her story, he immediately knew what he was going to do. Understanding how important the crib was to the grief-stricken mother, Gerald explained, "We decided on our way home that this crib was going back, but there was a twist when it came to his plan. Gerald was going to put his talents as a carpenter to use and make some changes since he realized it wasn't realistic for Valerie to keep the crib in its existing form forever. Instead, Gerald transformed the crib into a piece of furniture that could be displayed anywhere in Valerie's home in memory of her son. Using his talent, Gerald took what was once an unused crib and a painful reminder, and he made it into a bench that honored Noah's memory, giving it a new purpose, a place where Valerie could sit and feel close to the baby she had lost. But Valerie had no idea what Gerald was up to just a few miles away in the workshop that he had set up in his garage. That is until a week after the sale when, to her total surprise, Gerald was back at her home days after buying Noel's bed. With him was the crib-turned bench, and Valerie started crying the instant she saw the precious gift. "It's fun to be able to do something," a tearful Gerald told reporters, standing in the shop where he converted a heartbreaking memory into a heartwarming reminder for Valerie instead. The crib, previously unused and a painful reminder of the loss of her son, was now a beautiful bench that could forever remain in her home and heart. Needless to say, the grieving mother was very emotional over the beautiful gesture and the unexpected act of kindness from a stranger. "It's amazing, and there's good people out there. There's proof," Valeria said, referring to Gerald and the bench he created for her. Many parents can empathize with Valerie's heartbreaking experience, as losing a child is a profound and incomprehensible loss. The depth of sorrow remains profound regardless of when the loss occurs or how much time passes. Finding solace after such a tragedy is a daunting challenge, and even those closest to the grieving family struggle to provide adequate support. Witnessing a stranger like Gerald step forward to bring some measure of joy to someone in such deep grief is truly heartwarming. Gerald's actions reassure Valerie that she is not alone and that others empathize with her pain. This serves as a powerful reminder that there are compassionate and kind-hearted individuals in the world, and Gerald is a shining example of this.